So today's lesson is 2-5. The lesson's called rounding. This was a hard lesson for a lot of students today again. Today you will learn how to round a number. Rounding a number tells about how much or about how many. Imagine I have a rock collection with 26 rocks in it. If I said I had about 30 rocks, would that be a good way to describe my collection? Why or why not? Yes, that would be a good way to describe my collection because 26 is a number that's pretty close to 30. So I could say I have about 30 rocks, and that would be true. Think about ways to find numbers that tell about how much or how many. Imagine you have 27 stickers. What round number, like 10 or 20 or 30, is closest to 27? "30 is closer to 27 than 20 or 10. We can use a number line to help us round numbers. On this number line, they put the number 12 between the 10 and the 20, closer to the 10 than the 20, and the little curved arrow at the top shows that 12 rounds down to 10. It's closer to 10 than 20. They put a 66 between the 60 and the 70 with a little curved arrow that shows it's a little bit closer to 70, and it does round up to 70. When we round a number to the nearest 10, we find the number that is the closest 10 to the original number. Rounding tells us about how much or about how many we have. We use round numbers when we don't need to use an exact number. This is the back of the morning math that we did today, and it'll be coming home in the Thursday folder on October 2nd. Look at the first number line. Is 27 closer to 20 or 30? How did you decide? 27 rounds to 30, and you can decide because the tick mark for 27 is closer to 30 than it is to 20. I like this worksheet because they put a big tick mark where the 5 would go right in the middle, 25. And so you know anything from here on up rounds up, and anything below that big mark rounds down. As a rule, people have decided that 5 rounds up, and that's just a rule people stick to. Look again at that first number line. Is 21 closer to 20 or 30? 21 rounds to 20 because the tick mark for 21 is closer to 20 than 30. When we find what number is the closest 10, it's called rounding to the nearest 10. And we looked again a little bit at this rounding mountain picture that I have and saw how they did show that rule about the 5 rounding up because they put 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 as the digits that round up, and 4, 3, 2, and 1 as the digits that round down. I love this mountain. It really helps people understand rounding. Sometimes instead of looking for the closest 10, we look for the number that is the closest 100, and this is called rounding to the nearest 100. Look at the second number line now. The second number line shows the numbers 400 to 500. Is 410 closer to 400 or 500? 410 rounds to 400. You can decide that because 410 is closer to 400 than it is to 500. If they labeled all the tick marks, this would be the tick mark for 410 right here where my mouse is. Look again at the second number line. Is 448 closer to 400 or 500? It is closer to 400, and I put a tiny little animal on there, tiny animal saying it's just a tiny bit closer. You know, if it was 2 digits bigger, if it wasn't 448 but it was 450, it would round up. It's pretty close to the middle, but 448 rounds down to 500. Again, we're going to look at the digit next to the place that we're rounding to. So if we're rounding to hundreds, we start by looking at the hundreds place. 4 in the hundreds place lets us know that it's either going to round to 400 or 500. And then we look at the tens place, And a 4 in the tens place lets us know we're going to round down, because 4 would go down on the left-hand side of that mountain. It would round down to 0, so 400 is the answer here. Now look at the third number line. It's showing 230 to 240. Is 234 closer to 230 or 240? 234 rounds down to 230, because 234 is closer to 230 than 240. We're back to rounding to 10, and we're looking at the tens place to see if our answer is 230 or 240. And then we're looking at the ones place to decide what the correct answer is. If the digit here is 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0, it rounds down. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it rounds up. Since it's 4, it rounds down, and it's 230. Look again at the third number line. Is 236 closer to 230 or 240? 236 rounds up to 240. I decided because 236 is closer to 240 than it is to 230. Maybe you found it on the number line. Maybe you looked at the ones digit and saw that it was 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So it rounds up to 240. Okay, we did the next questions with a partner for some more practice. And then we talked about how on this number line we're rounding to the nearest 10. Some practice here. Round to the nearest 10, 37. I hope you're pausing it to practice on your own at home. 37 to the nearest 10 rounds to 40. Round to the nearest 10, the number 63. 63 rounds down to 60. Round to the nearest 10, the number 305. Ooh, tricky one. 5 in the ones place rounds up, so rounding to the nearest 10, it's 310. Now I've changed it a little bit. It says round to the nearest 100. 305 rounded to the nearest 100 is 300. Round to the nearest 100, 888. Well, the digits are bigger than 4, so they round up. It's 900. How about this one? Round to the nearest 100, 552. It's sort of close to being 500 or 600, but it's just a little closer to 600. Round 439 to the nearest 10 and describe the steps you would follow. Please pause the video and practice this on your own. Find the digit in the rounding place. It's 3. Then look at the digit to the right. It's 9. Since 9 is greater than 5, increase the 3 to 4. Change the 9 to a 0. That means 439 to the nearest 10 rounds to 440. Imagine you're rounding to the nearest 100. What's the greatest number that rounds to 600? What's the least number that rounds to 600? The greatest number that rounds to 600 is 649. It rounds down to 600. The least number that rounds to 600, 550. All right, these are some more questions we did today. The 3-digit number has the digits 2, 5, and 7. To the nearest 100, it rounds to 800. What is the number? 752. How about this one? Mark asks his parents for a computer game that costs $150. He tells them, rounded to the nearest 100, it costs $100. Is this correct? No. Rounded to the nearest 100, it is $200. 150 is right in the middle. We round it up. That's the rule. That was it for today.